Hey, you want to see something really scary?
What's your favorite scary movie?
I'm gonna scare the hell out of you.
What was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk here.
What's blood for, if not for shedding?
Welcome to Fright Night.
Welcome back to Jump Scare. I'm Betty.
And I'm Shad.
This week we're covering I Saw the TV Glow.
I know this might sound crazy. I don't want to alarm you. Do you remember a TV show we used to watch together? It was called
The Pink Opaque?
Yeah. Do you watch? Each episode, they help each other fight a new monster from across the county. But it's way too scary for most kids.
We're gonna defeat him this time. We're gonna need to harness the full potential of our shared powers.
Sometimes the Pink Opaque feels more real than real life.
Maddy, it was a TV show.
Are you sure that's all it was? I like girls, you know that, right?
Totally, that's fine.
What about you? Do you like girls?
I think that I like TV shows.
It's our destiny.
How can I have a destiny?
Something's wrong. This isn't how life is supposed to feel. Tell me you know it's true.
Maddy, it's just the suburbs.
Seems like you're always somewhere else lately.
Maddy disappeared without a trace. All they found was her TV set burning in the backyard. I told myself I made the right choice. What if I really was someone else? Very far away on the other side of a television screen.
That's the last time you're going to hear me be happy after we finish discussing this film, because this film left me in tears. It was, it's an A24 film. One of the producers is Emma Stone.
The director is Jane Schoenbrun, who did the previous film was We're All Going to the World's Fair.
No, we're not. We're not going to the World's Fair.
No, I would not go to that World's Fair. It did not look like a good idea.
Justice Smith plays Owen, and Brigette Lundy-Paine plays Maddy.
Now, you might remember Justice Smith. He's been in the most recently in the Dungeons and Dragons movie. He was in that Detective Pikachu. He was also in that one that came out just a couple of months ago, that American Society of Magical Negroes.
Yeah, what movie hasn't he been in?
He's been in a lot of blockbuster stuff, and then in the A24 film, it's kind of, it's odd how people go from being in like big tentpole movies to these smaller movies. It's just, I always find it interesting that, people that can do both.
Yeah.
Because there's some actors who will never, they only do one or the other.
Who knows, like, what he brought to this movie was just raw emotion. Yeah. And
I'm sure he doesn't get to do a lot of in Detective Pikachu. Probably not a lot of emotional arcs in that movie for anyone other than Pikachu.
This film is set in the 90s, and there were some 90s recognizable people who lived through that time frame. They were in the film. Fred Durst, Fred Durst, the lead singer Limp Bizkit of Limp Bizkit. I had to cross-reference that more times than I want to say, because I could not believe it was him. And Amber Benson, Tara from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, is Johnny Link's mom. She's also in there, so they have she has a cameo. He has a more he's the stepfather in the film for Owen.
He's not in it a lot, but he's in it enough that when you're like, that's Fred Durst, I didn't even recognize him.
Yeah, not recognizable at all. These two characters attend the same school, and they develop a friendship over a TV show, and
called The Pink Opaque.
The Pink Opaque, yes.
That's one of the things that I didn't like about that movie is that name is kind of like a very odd name for a TV show for the 90s. I feel like a 90s TV show would have had a much more straightforward name. It would have been Buffy the Vampire Slayer. What's the other one? The Tales. Are You Afraid of the Dark? Are You Afraid of the Dark? Something like that. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna forget that happened to you, and that you forgot my all-time favorite show.
I never watched that show in the 90s. Remember, so I missed out on that.
That's true, but I mean, okay. Eerie, Indiana is another show. A lot of people are comparing this to like a Buffy meets like David Cronenberg. I didn't get Buffy until you kind of like explained it. I saw it more as like, Are You Afraid of the Dark, with like, I don't want to say hokiness, because I really love that show to this day. But yes.
Where I get the Buffy from it is they talk about how every week in the Pink Opaque there's either an overarching conspiracy, but with Mr. Melancholy trying to do everything, or it's a Monster of the Week episode, which we know Buffy and the X-Files were famous for having was it a Monster of the Week episode, or is it about the conspiracy? Or in Buffy's case, is it about the main plot? Was it the Master? Was it Darla and Spike? Was it the Mayor? They had a different one every season that was out to do something evil. But then in the meantime, they were like, oh, but this week she has to fight the praying mantis that's a teacher.
Exactly. So. They brought all those different kind of crazy scenarios, and you definitely see the movie does a good job of showing you the episodes that they watch, like scenes from those episodes, so you can get a taste of what they're experiencing, because later on they're going to show you like a kind of like a compare contrast, but we'll get into that.
Yeah.
So
they bond over initially, like he sees her in the school and he's a few years younger than her. And she's reading like the compendium book, the companion of like the episode guide to the Pink Opaque. And he's like, oh, you like that show? And she's like, oh my God. And she starts telling him all about the show. And then she's like, you like it too? And he's like, I've never seen it. And she just instantly like goes, oh yeah, okay, we're done talking.
Yeah.
Like you can see her just go, we're out.
Yeah. He had seen commercials, but it comes on at 10. And that's past his bedtime.
No, it comes on at 10:30 and his bedtime is 10.
Oh, yes. Okay.
So he didn't get to see it because it started a half hour too late.
Oh, my gosh. So, backstory on these two characters. Owen comes from a biracial family. The father's a little, I don't know.
Jerk?
He a jerk, fine. He's a jerk to his wife, to his kid. And he's very introverted. I would say more so mama's boy, because the dad is like very machismo. And the Maddy's character, has maybe an abusive home, not a stable one, not somewhere where she feels safe. They actually never show her parents. They show Owen's parents the entire time, but they never show her parents.
Which is, like you said before, is one of those things that in the 90s shows or even in the 80s kids shows, there was always at least one person in the show who you never saw their parents at all. You were like, why is this person always at the other person's house? Do they not have a home to go to? Are they secretly homeless? What's going on?
Yeah. That was her character. Even though they would hang out, Maddy and Owen would hang out in the basement because he couldn't see the show. He actually decided to come up with a lie and tell his parents and ask for actually permission first from the mom, and then the mom had to go ask the dad, and that was like cringe moment. Because the dad was like no and wanted to know, but he finally says yes, and the son is telling them that he's gonna go the day old, it's never gonna get old, that whole thing of like, hey mom, I'm going to my friend's house to go to a sleepover. Wink, I'm not doing that. I'm probably going to my other friend's house that you don't like, that their parents are never home.
Yep.
And they let me eat ice cream all the damn time. Or, I'm going to a party, I'm going elsewhere. So he was going over to Maddy's house with his sleeping bag, and she has like a basement. This film was, it wasn't set specifically somewhere, but it was filmed in New Jersey. So man, let me tell you, they picked a perfect place for that, because maybe that part of New Jersey had not passed the 90s. Like, they're still living in like the early 90s.
And I've been to those houses just like that with the not New Jersey, but with the basement like that, where you could kind of come in from the outside, because even though it was a basement, you had like the access from the outside, so you could get in there, and you could, I knew people that snuck in and out of the basement a lot. That was how they got in and out of the house.
Really?
Yeah.
So they, once a week, he would come over and they would watch this show together for years. I mean, to the point where, he's now finally a teenager, because he was in elementary school before, or middle school, and now he's in high school, beginnings of high school, and she's older than him, and,
she, obviously, her household sucks, and she's ready to run away. And she wants him to come with her, but he's still too young to, he doesn't, she's like, we'll run away and we'll live on the streets, or we'll do whatever we have to do.
Yeah, he's a kid. He doesn't want to do that. He's like,
I don't want to do that. I'm not ready to run away and live on the streets yet. He's not ready to live the, homeless person lifestyle. It scares him. So he finally has to go to Amber Benson, the mom who said he's been telling him all these years he's been staying over there at the house.
Johnny's mom.
He has to go and tell her, look, I've been saying for years that I've been coming over here. I haven't been. I've been going to her house to watch this show. And now she's going to run away, and she wants me to go with her. I don't want to go. I'm scared. I just don't want to go. And she's very understanding about it. She's just like, oh, honey, and, hugs him. And you have to assume she tells everybody's parents, because she, Maddy gets in trouble. She doesn't run away that week like she said she's going to, but very soon after that, she disappears, and the only thing that's found is the TV from downstairs is burning in the backyard.
And there's like some pink slime on it. So that's the first inception moment. That's the first moment. You're not going to know then. You kind of suspect, because, I think they actually do release in the trailer, like, what's going down. But is what's happening real, or is this just in someone's mind?
Yeah.
So, Owen, Justice Smith. Owen Wilson was in my head. Get out, Owen. Justice Smith's character kind of like breaks the fourth wall and is like talking to the audience and telling them like what he did with his time and how he coped with it. How she actually sent him, he was able to see the last episode, because the night that she disappeared was also in conjunction with the night that the show ended forever. It was the series finale. And, she fell off the face of the earth, and they said they looked for her forever, and she had disappeared around like summertime. And now it's been years. He's a grown man. He's,
working a job.
His mom passed away, like, when that whole thing of, like, her disappearing happened. Like, right before Maddy disappeared, the mom had died. And so he, he's not moved on, but he's now, the dad is the only one in the house. He is still around, and not as much as an asshole as before, really just keeps to himself, because he knows my son's bringing in the money for the beer and paying the bills, because I don't think the dad ever worked. Like, every time they fucking show the dad, he was just sitting on the front of the couch, mesmerized by the TV, also disassociating, like totally escaping through the TV, which is what that common thing where they have these both fucked up houses, and they couldn't deal with the reality of everything. They just sought comfort in that escapism with this TV show. And then you had someone to talk, about it with, which provides you more comfort. So
I'm sure he was escaping to very different shows than the son, but he's doing the same kind of thing.
Football and I feel like in parts of the movie you do hear like what it is, not clearly, but you can hear like, oh, that's a sports game.
Yeah, he's watching sports or something like that. He's just staring at the sports and just zoning out. Yeah,
the mom was the only one that was actually like caring about her son. Like she actually did things with him, and then she died. So that part, and then now you have the alienation of it all, and alienation from everything, his isolation, his loneliness, not having an ally in the household. You know, at least his mom could protect him to some degree, and or just be his friend. You know. Even though, that's your mom, but it's like, okay, there's someone there that I can count on.
Yeah.
So yes, he's grown, and Maddy just shows up, like, full grown-ass woman, and basically tells him a crazy story and how she traveled, she went to LA, and she got a job, and she did this and that, and then, you know, she was never able to, like, escape the sadness of it all, just how sad and terrible her life was, and she thought it was because she lived in a small town and the town had nothing to offer her, but, and you know, her parents sucked, but you know, essentially that sadness was within her, and it didn't matter where she moved, even the fucking most sunniest, you know, state ever, that wasn't going to bring her happiness. So she pays this guy to like bury her alive, and he does such a good job, she's not able to get out, and finally she's like struggling and going through all of that, and finally she's able to get out.
And when she gets out, she's in the Pink Opaque.
Yeah, she's in the Pink Opaque, because the realization she has is she is one of the characters for the Pink Opaque, which are, the Pink Opaque is about these two girls, because we haven't even gotten into the synopsis of the TV show yet.
Of the fake TV show. So the fake TV show, the two girls, one's Caucasian, the other one is black, and they are at camp, and they befriend one another at camp through, like, they're able to talk telepathically. And since obviously they don't live next to each other, they, you know, have this connection, and I don't really know how it comes about because they don't really delve into it per se. They didn't get real big on exactly how it happened.
But not even how it happened. How, what is it, Mr. Melancholy, who's the nemesis.
The nemesis of the show. Who
gets wind of this telepathicness or like whatever the hell's going their relationship. And he's like, no, I have to destroy them. So like sends them weekly crazy ass thing. Oh, that's what I remember. That's the comment that I made the show. It reminded me of Power Rangers. It was Power Rangers because Power Rangers always had the craziest fucking people to fight. They always had to fight something insane.
Yeah, it was always like the big crab monster or something. I felt like they just raided the Godzilla closet and just took whatever monster was in there and just like, oh, you got a crab monster, painted a different color. And then they just fought that, you know?
Now, not to stray away from the movie, but there's a TV show, first season, that I was obsessed with, and it was Channel Zero. Oh my god, that show was so good. And I was all about that show, that first season. The other seasons were fine, but the first one really is, I feel like it probably is my favorite one out of all of them. And the one with the house, I think that's the next one.
Yeah.
The imagery that they show you in this TV show for this Pink Opaque is it's creepy and it's something weird. Like, it's like a melted ice cream man. And he's huge. And he's like, the cone is upside down. His eyes kind of like dripping down. It's like
nightmare fuel.
Yeah, but then it's happy because it's like white and pink colors and pastel. It's fucking amazing. Like my favorite parts of the movie were the parts where they show the monster, like the stupid ass fucking people that they had to fight.
Like Mr. Melancholy, who was like a big moon looking thing.
Yes, he looked like Mac the Knife or whatever. But like huge and even crazier. He looked like the moon from that like movie.
Oh, the silent movie?
Yes.
The Men in the Moon or whatever it is.
Yes.
Or Trip to the Moon.
Yes, Trip to the Moon.
Looks kind of like that.
100%. That's what the fucking moon was. 100%. Super fucking creepy, right? And that's their comment thing. But she's the one of the characters, and he's the other character. And now he's thinking about what she's saying, and she's trying to like jog his memory, because she says, we are in this hell together. We've been put here by Mr. Melancholy, and we're on this plane of misery in these bodies. This is not really us. We're these other, we're the boy and the girls from the Pink Opaque. And Owen is like, you're insane. Like, no, that can't be. Like, just like whatever. But then having memories of things that happen, obviously off screen for the audience, but in his mind, they're like, oh shit. He's like, oh, I'm recalling this. Like, this maybe did this happen? And he's wearing the same dress that the character's wearing, but he's the same, But
so you're not sure, like, was he just trying on the dress when they were watching the show, or was this something that like was
it more of a deeper? That whole thing is, and I may be wrong, but that whole thing is tied to obviously the personal life of the director. Maybe what they experienced or how they felt, during their time
could be
growing up. But it was very, just, you're a teen, you're going through things, the hormones are driving you nuts, you don't know who you are, you're unsure if even, about your sexuality, you're unsure about, things, and not unsure about your sexuality, just, what you want and who you are, but you're unsure whether or not you're gonna let the world know because you're afraid of what the world's gonna tell you, that kind of thing. There's a lot, of course, of that obviously in the film, and man, as a teenager, I had my own thing. I connected to the film through the whole depression aspect and all the aspect of finding comfort in something that was, a TV show or a movie that I could escape to, because that's what I did to like cope with it, so that's where I left. That's why I left the theater in tears, because for me, it was just like the World's Fair. There's a lot of it dwells into like mental health, a part of it had to do with that.
Yeah, for me, some of the stuff that connected with was like the, remembering all the stuff, like having to go to the store and buy books to look up all these movie trivia facts and things and information about the shows. And then the biggest thing for me was when they show like their memory of watching the show for, what they said, how they remember it was, like you said, the dripping ice cream man.
Yes.
It's terrifying and horrifying looking. And then when he watches the show years later as an adult, it's just someone in a silly ice cream suit, and it's nothing like he remembered at all. So you also have to wonder then, is it the same show? Were they seeing something different? Or was it just they were younger and didn't realize it was quite as silly as they thought? They were taking it way more seriously.
The other Inception moment.
Because we've all done that with the TV show, where we remembered this TV show being this dark, scary adult thing that was so cool, man. And then you watch it now and you're like, oh no, that was not good at all.
Mine was Poltergeist: The Legacy. I put myself out there with that one, really, because that's I feel ashamed that I actually said that, because that show's that terrible. But when I was a teenager, I needed to see that every Saturday. That was my show of the afternoon that I needed to see. Also Mutant X. Mutant X. I was also a Mutant Xer, and I'm watching now and I'm like, what the fuck was I watching? But at the same time, guys, I need you to understand, y'all living in a beautiful world now, okay? That is not the world that, a lot of people were raised in, okay? People were raised in a world where whatever was on TV and you have 3 fucking channels, you better like it, and it's either going to be the news, some religious thing, like sermon or something that's happening, and the fucking TV movie of the week or whatever the fuck random channel that showed the movies, or like just a whatever TV show. You may be watching like I Dream of Jeannie, like whatever was gonna, and you were gonna love that shit because you did not want to watch the weather. or you did not want to see the flag wave or whatever.
I remember for the longest time, cable, when I was a kid, meant you had 36 channels.
Man, you were just living it up.
Living the life. And that included the Weather Channel, 2 sports channels, and 2 news channels. So, like, of those channels, 5 of them right away were already things I wasn't going to watch. And then, one of them, there were a couple of channels that were like, oh, these are the ones you have to pay for. This is HBO. This is Cinemax. You got to subscribe to that and have the guy come out. And you couldn't just flip the switch now and like, oh, you're subscribed to it. No, you had to wait for the cable man came out to your house and put the thing in your, at the pole in front of your house to activate it. So then you'd be able to get those channels. So then you didn't have a full 36 channels. It was more like maybe 22 or so by the time you were all done. And like you said, you just watched what was on. I can remember getting up and like circling things in the TV schedule to watch. Being like, ooh, Thursday they're going to have this on. I better watch that because, like you said, I didn't want to see in the afternoons as a kid. It was game shows or soap operas.
Oh yeah, game shows or soap operas. Yep.
That was in the afternoon, in the morning too. But the afternoon for sure was nothing but soap operas and game shows.
Yeah, you get that on Mr. Mom.
Yeah,
in that movie they cover that. I always, it's so weird because when you say that, that's the first thing that comes to mind for me.
And then, like, when you could watch something on there, and you're like, oh, they're running Star Trek, they're running the $6 Million Man, or what the hell is this? Oh, it's the Planet of the Apes TV show, they're running that? I'll take that. Didn't matter what else it was. If it was anything other than the boring sports game shows or soap operas, I was watching it because it was anything to escape those.
So, we didn't have the choices of today.
Yeah.
But so
old man yells at cloud.
Oh my gosh. After all that wildness and craziness, she actually asked him, she told him that she wanted to bury him because he needed to be reborn. And she was going to bury him, and then, he needed to show up at the football field. And here he comes. There's his grave, like, just right there in a nice, perfect movie-styled square. And he's not about it. He's like, no, he can't do it. And that's the other sad thing about Owen. I should say other sad thing. The most sad thing about him is that he never had, like, the courage to do anything.
Yeah.
Like, but if you think about it, this is where the podcast is going to go down a rabbit hole now. We're going down the rabbit hole.
All right. I'm hanging on.
If they are the characters from the Pink Opaque and they were put there by Mr. Melancholy, what's his name?
Melancholy, yeah, Mr. Melancholy.
Mr. Melancholy to live this like terrible existence where they don't feel like they're themselves. They feel like they're other people. They're not happy. They're miserable, and they haven't been able to live a good life at all because that's not the point of them being there. The point of them being there is to be in torment and fucking despair, and he's feeding off of that. So if that's really occurring, then like that's what he needed to do to save himself out of that. Who's to say that if Owen would have let her, bury himself, he would have not come out and whatever. She wasn't going to leave him. She was going to wait there, like, for him. It wasn't going to be like she paid the guy and he just left her there and he took his money and left.
Well, we don't know.
No, she was going to stay. She was going to stay. And the other thing, we never see Maddy again. After he rejects her, she fucking disappears off the face of the earth again because she tells him, this is my one chance. I cannot come back. This is my last chance to come and get you through to the other side, to like wake you up, out of this. And she never fucking shows up. And I feel like if that was real, that'd be 1, super dramatic, 2, really fucked up to literally mind fuck someone, to tell someone, okay, that.
Well, didn't he arrive late, or he didn't come at the right time?
No, he decided. No, he didn't. He didn't come. Like, he didn't go.
That's right. And then he like showed up the next day and he found the grave and stuff.
Yeah. He went back and she wasn't there, but that's wild to me. But she would have come, dropped a bomb on him. Hey, your life is not actually real. This is the TV show now. Like, not so much as the TV show, but like, it's still continuing. This is what's actually happening. This is just all fake, and you need to come back to reality with me. Who would do that to someone and it's fucking just leave? Not even send a letter like, I hate you that you didn't do this. Okay, but I just want to let you know that, you know, you don't have to live with the guilt with this forever, and knowing and fucking questioning your utter existence for the rest of your life. Like, Maddy. Like, that would have been a nice letter that she could have written him. Just to let him fucking know that that shit wasn't real. So that, for me, like a big chunk of me, because this movie's like filled with like emotion. There's a lot of emotion in this film, and that's the horrific aspect of that. The emotion per se, the horrificness of like feeling like that. The feeling you get from this movie. If you've ever felt like isolated, or if you ever felt like you didn't belong, or if you had a really tough time with depression, you know, any kind of, especially as a teenager in your life, this movie may or may not trigger you. I was triggered. I was super triggered by it. Yeah, I was super triggered by it. So it definitely left an impression with me. I give it 4 knives. I give it 8 knives, actually. Fine. I'm not going to exaggerate. I give it 3.5 knives.
There you go. You can't give it more knives than what we agreed upon at the start of this podcast. We can only do that one time. We have one time where we can be like, fuck it, this is a 5-knifer.
It doesn't feel, it's the 90s, but it doesn't feel like it's trying to be the 90s. It's not so hard, like trying, like this is this time frame. It's so ease. There's so much ease to like the clothing and the sets, and it's like a whisper of the 90s, but not like,
yeah, it's way more subtle. It's way more subtle than some of the movies where they're like, oh, it's the 80s. Well, oh, let's go out and get in a car without it, not put our seatbelt on, and we'll smoke in the car. And every song that we turn on is Duran Duran or whatever, you know. Like, okay, I get it. You're in the 80s. They didn't have to do that here. They could have easily set this in 2005 or, 2010 and brought it up to now. It could have been any of those times with just a little tweak one way or the other. It would have still worked. There were still these kind of shows later on. So I feel like that's one of its strengths, is that it could be set during almost any time period, and just with a little tweak here and there, just take a cell phone out here and there, it would be fine.
Yeah. The lighting is fantastic. The music is amazing. Like, I want to buy like the album for that movie. The shots are great, especially because you are watching what a 90s TV show looked like at that time, especially something that gimmicky like that, something that would have been on Nickelodeon, and then back to film. So you're switching back between those two mediums, at several different parts of the movie. The acting was phenomenal. The things that happen, like the colors, but it's like those A24 colors, it's like when we saw, like, what is it, that Nick Cage, The Color.
Color Out of Space.
Yes. Very colorful like that.
Very distinct. The look of the A24 type film, and I think this one there's nothing that's more A24 than this. And
did he have, and in the discussion, there's a lot of discussions to be held. I feel like there's a lot of layers to this film. I don't see it as a horror film at all. I mean, not in the traditional sense. It is modern horror, and I don't mean that in any disrespect or any way, because there are good, very good modern horror films, because horror is expanding. It's moved beyond the typical slasher, that whole like bit. We're moving forward to like different avenues of horror, and more psychological horror, more, Yeah,
I understand the people that are just like, I don't watch anything that was made after 1980 and wasn't made by, they named some random Italian director and it wasn't made beyond 1980. You're like, okay, we get it. You're unique and different.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah. But hey, and there's been a lot of podcasts, a lot of different episodes, that we have had that I've said crazy things, I'm sure, about several different movies, but those are just, it's not, I don't want to say it's not so much geared to more horror films from the past and not the ones that are modern-esque. But with this one, I definitely give it 3.5 knives. I'm standing by my 3.5 knives.
I'm with you. It's a good film. I'm going to give it 3 knives because it didn't quite hit me as hard as you, but there were things I liked about it. I just, I would have liked a little more closure in it. Like, well, a little more of what the hell was actually going on, but you were never going to get that, so.
No, you're not going to get it. I'm going to tell you my interpretation. My interpretation is, because you asked, my interpretation is he loses it. So the film follows him throughout his whole life. And you see him into his, 60s probably. He's super old and he's still working at this fucking place, which that right there in itself is the fucking part, number 5,000 things that are sad about this film.
He was in his 60s. I thought maybe he was in his 40s or so.
If he was in his 40s at the end of the movie, he was looking really bad and he had a terrible life because he was hunched over. He had that inhaler. He could barely breathe. He was he was all you can't see me right now, but I'm looking crazy right now. Real crazy. I look like at the end of Buffy, the arg
thing, yeah.
I'm like, this has nothing to do with Buffy, and we've mentioned Buffy 5,000 times. So
maybe it did.
Maybe it did. So yeah, I think he's super old. I don't think that he's in his 40s. I think he's in his 40s when he has the Mandela effect, when he sees the show again, and it's not what he thought it was, and it was this super cheesy as fuck show with younger children in it, and
he's remembering for a while Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but then when he watches it, it's like Clarissa Explains It All with monsters kind of thing. You know what I mean? I can't think of another kids show with monsters. I was trying to think because in his mind it's like Buffy the Vampire Slayer with all these cool effects.
But it's Goosebumps. We'll just keep
it's Goosebumps, but not as sophisticated as Goosebumps.
No, but yeah, I was trying to think of a show too, and I was like, I cannot think of a show. So yes, and then when he gets older, he sees it. So he has a psychotic break. He's working and he just starts screaming, and everyone stops.
It's just like they entirely freeze.
Yes, for
a long time. They don't acknowledge it at all.
No, they don't. They don't acknowledge it. They do. One character does when he breaks away, but at that moment, doesn't acknowledge anything. His other co-worker that has worked with him for a long time, because they both have been working there. That guy was a teenager when that guy was working there. He was in his, not a teenager, but he was in his 20s. He tells him, because he goes to the bathroom, so Owen just he's screaming like you've never, I'm sorry, getting super emotional, because this part is the part where I'm breaking apart, right? He's screaming either one, he's never fucking been heard before. He's never been heard. And he's just letting the world know that he's fucking alive in it and he's here. Please acknowledge my existence, Or he's screaming, this has been my life. I have had I hate this fucking life. And there's nothing I can do about it. And I'm at the end of my life. And I just can't fucking take it anymore. That kind of a scream. If I can't express, that's what I got, because that's how it affected me. Those are the two different things I was going with that fucking scream that he gave, because it was a lot. It wasn't that it was loud, it was just the way, it was a whole body scream, Very intense. And later on, he goes to the bathroom after that, and then the character comes out and is like knocking on the door. Hey, are you all right? Like,
see, I took it like he could have just walked off too, and then he just went to check on him and see if he was okay when he went to the bathroom.
He could have, but
I just couldn't believe that the entire group, the kids, the Karens that were the moms.
That's the other inception. It's not happening. Everyone is being controlled by Mr. Melancholy, and Mr. Melancholy is controlling that whole situation. So when he screamed like that, he was like trying to break through. He interrupted this fucking fantasy world. You know, that wasn't something that he thought maybe would happen, Mr. Melancholy. So he interrupted the fantasy world, and then it was like they were all robots, and they were like, ugh! And they couldn't fucking compute.
Broke the programming for a minute.
Yeah, so that's how I took it, because that's why I believe that shit. I'm in the middle, actually, because part of me doesn't want to believe that he was not, like, he was just so sad that he had like some psychotic break, and that's been it. Like, he lost it, and a lot of that had to do with the bullshit Maddy put on him, with this realization, like with this bullshit that she maliciously did to him. Because if you look at it in that aspect, that would be a really terrible fucking thing for someone to do to someone else.
It'd be like pulling up to somebody and getting out and telling them, you're in the Matrix. You're in the shitty Matrix where everyone has to work and all this, and I can take you out and put you into the Matrix where you're in Star Wars, and you're going to get a lightsaber, and you're going to go fight people all day long and do cool shit in space, or I'll leave you here. You let me know where you want to do. And then he's like, I'll think about it, and then doesn't go, and then kind of regrets that choice forever, you know?
Yeah. Oh, man. So, yeah, check it out. It's
out in theaters now. I think it comes on video on demand and other places next week. I'll put the info in the post on this. I'll check for sure, but I know it's in theaters now in places. I think it's mostly on the East and West Coast, but it may expand some more next week and others. Like I said, I'll put the info in there.
Yeah. We actually were able to view this at the Overlook Film Festival. So we had the honor and pleasure of attending the film festival, and this was the last film that we saw. This ended the film festival for us.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That was the last one we saw.
So yeah, I left on an emotional carpet ride, and Shad left in a car. Well, thank you so much for joining us in another episode of Jump Scare the Horror Podcast. I totally forgot the name of our podcast.
Were you about to say the Pink Opaque?
No, the Pink Opaque. Stay tuned to the horror.